I'd like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order. Would you all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and it's available to watch on YouTube. And getting started with our official business, we do have those very short, very long meeting minutes for May 7th, 2026. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes as written. So moved. Okay. Motion by Hank. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments about those minutes? And before we go further, I said this last slide, but for your sake, you do not have to abstain from approving minutes just because you were not at the meeting. Oh, the only time you need to abstain is really having a conflict of interest. So just making sure that you know that that is not an expectation. I'm sure you're still working through all of the different trainings you need to take. So that will be the training. So any questions or comments about this? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes, so that is unanimous. Further, we do have some bills and payroll, so I would entertain a motion to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented. Motion by Hank. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments about the bills and payroll? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes, so that is unanimous. We do not have our student representative here, but we do have public input. And so if you'd like to give public input this evening, now would be the time. And I know we've met, but if you could again say your name and the town you are from before you speak.
Good evening, everyone. John Valentine, Templeton, Mass. So I know I have 3 minutes. So basically, broken record, fiscal year 26, roughly 8.7 million was the budget. Fiscal year 27 approved 9.9 for Templeton. So that's 1.1 million increase roughly for 12% increase. All as I state is that just to remind the folks here that we're a low and moderate income community, rural community, and that we should really stay within our budgets and level spending. To me, a novice in this whole process is last year, 8.7 million, 26, fiscal year 27, 8.7. To me, that's level spending. But feel free to educate me in the process as well as the rest of the town. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for all that you do. I know this is a very complex scenario and it's rough on everyone, but the more people get involved, the better off everyone will be. And okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we deeply appreciate when people take an interest regardless of what point of view is. It's good to hear from folks from the community. So thank you for that. Okay. We were expecting some student speakers this evening, but they were unable to make it, as was NDEA. So we will go into FY26 and FY27 budget update. And so Amory's not here, so I'm going to assume we don't have much of an FY26. I do know, so she's, we're expecting to have her back next time. I know that she's still doing some recovery from some personal things. And so we were excited to have her back. I also noticed, I did get an email from her today that she's working on the end of year, how to transfer money. So for those, so what the school committee controls is, the school committee's version of a line item budget is like the administration 1000s and the instructional curriculum 2000s and so on and so forth. And so we approve at that level. So Amory can move monies within each of those categories of budget. independently with, Dr. C's involvement, et cetera, but she cannot move it between the 1,000s to the 2,000s, for example, without approval from the committee. So as she is reconciling the budget, they then come back to the committee to say, here's how we balanced the budget. Do you approve that? And here's where we recommend moving some dollars to close out the budget spending for FY26 and make sure everything balanced at the end. FY27 budget. So I know that Dr. C has some additional materials to share. But I'll take a stab at some light updates as to what is happening. So first of all, the school committee made a recommendation of what the budget should be. And what school committee usually starts with is what's called level service. Level service means that we preserve all of the services from one fiscal year to the next. And so naturally, unfortunately, the cost to maintain those services does not stay flat year to year. The costs for those services increase from one fiscal year to another. And so we start with, this is what the budget would be if we were to maintain level service across the board. We then look at that budget to say, is there anything that we don't need anymore? Is there anything that can be eliminated? And immediately we did eliminate about $300,000. After that, we went into a process of working towards a level of collaboration with the towns to say, what do things look like for you this year? What do we need to understand? What should we be planning for? And so the original budget we certified was that level service less $300,000. Now those of you who have followed things, there were a number of exercises that we underwent with the town to look at different scenarios. One of those exercises was level service less $1.3 million. And then we did also look at level funded and a 2.5% increase over FY26. To be clear, a 2.5% increase over FY26 is something like $200,000. Okay, so in total, we looked at level funded, so FY26 and FY27 the same. We also looked at FY27 being 2.5% higher than FY26, which was about $200,000 additional dollars. We then looked at, and I wish I knew the opposite math of this, but just bear with me. We then looked at level service less $1.3 million. And we also looked at level service less $300,000. So there were like 4 different budget scenarios in play at any one time, and we were looking across all of those. Ultimately, the budget that the school committee certified was level service less $1.3 million. There were a couple of reasons that we felt that that was the most financially and school responsible budget to pass. It is because that is the budget that ensures we maintain our extracurricular activities for our students, because we know that a school experience is not just coming in, completing your classes and leaving at the end of the day. And especially in, a set of small towns like ours, the opportunities for students to participate in extracurriculars is extremely limited when the student is not. And we know that those are important for mental health. We know that those are important for growth, leadership skills, and a number of other things. Additionally, the level service less $1.3 million saved a program called MVP. Thank you. That MVP program is a program that allows students to essentially be co-enrolled in both Monty Tech programs. I'm going with the real basic explanation here. They're co-enrolled in Monty Tech courses related to electrical and woodworking, as well as, academics here at the school. And it allows them to work towards those trade skills as well as getting their academics. This year, we're also working towards adding the addition of a plumbing, track. So now there will be electrical, plumbing, and woodworking. This is important because the systems through which students are selected for vocational schools is not as equitable as one would wish.
It's getting better.
It is getting better. We've seen improvements to it, but there are still some things that I know that the state and the vocational schools are working on. And so this gives our students additional opportunities for access to those, and it does it without the cost of a regional school district bringing those full programs into the school. Like, we all can remember days when there was woodworking within the schools, for example, but the cost of those programs today are extremely prohibitive. So it leverages all the great things that vocational schools bring, while also balancing between the vocational school and the district. There are some grant covered pieces of this, but it is not fully grant funded. And so it does impact the general fund, which is what ultimately gets approved. And it also protected the Thrive program as well, which is a program designed to help keep students who may have needed outside services here within the school district. So there are a plethora of other things, including some teaching positions, et cetera, especially at the elementary school, that were preserved as part of this budget. And so really, in listening to the community that showed up to speak up about what was important to them, this was the budget. That was then validated at the Templeton town meeting, where Templeton community members voted that budget and made it active for the town of Templeton. Now, here's where we really, if you thought that was confusing, let's make this more fun. Okay, so at the time that Phillipston held their town meeting, we had still, the budget voted by the school committee was still the level service budget. And so on the floor of their town meeting, they put forth the FY26 plus 2.5% version of the budget. So they did not read the warrant as it was originally written with the original budget that was proposed. They went right to a different budget. And they put the motion on the floor. And that budget was voted in at Phillipston. Okay, so that's FY26 plus 2.5%. So because school committee and the town of Templeton have voted in this different budget, Phillipston has the opportunity to reconsider the budget that they voted on. And so what they have done is opened up a new warrant article and scheduled a special town meeting on June 10th to reconsider the budget, which they have made the passing of that budget contingent upon an override. In the situation where a budget is contingent upon an override, they then have to have a ballot initiative to vote on that, which is scheduled for June 30th. Okay? Now, let's keep going because the fun continues. There is something called a 1/12 budget. A 1/12 budget automatically is activated when a school budget is not confirmed by June 30th. So we are essentially right now prepping to be in 1/12 because although Phillipston's meeting and vote all take place within the given time frame, because of our reporting requirements to the state, we essentially have to report 1/12 to them because we won't have the ballot results back from them. Okay? So there's a couple scenarios of what could happen. If Phillipston votes this in all the way through in both of their meetings, essentially, once that goes through, we'll go back to the state, we'll say, now here's where I'm hoping I get this right, because the call I got today was very confusing. If both votes go through, we will be able to go back to the state in July and say we have a final budget. Like, school committee has voted, the town of Templeton has voted, the town of Phillipston has both had their town, a special town meeting and the ballot vote. And we have a final budget if it passes in all of those spaces. But that is not the only scenario of what could happen. Okay? So, if Phillipston does not pass the budget in their special town meeting, then on our meeting on the 18th, we would then have an opportunity to reconsider and re-vote a budget. Okay? And then that would activate the district-wide meeting scenario where both towns come together to vote on a budget. That would ultimately be sometime during the month of July, just based on the timing of all the things. Then if they pass the school budget, but they don't pass the override, then the school budget is still okay, but Phillipston would then have to pull those monies from other sources, other funding. I think I got all of that correct. I know Dr. C had a whole plan to go through that, but I want to make sure we stick with the agenda. I know this is where we usually talk about things, but if you were wondering if regional budgeting is confusing, the answer is yes. Yes, it is. Because there are all these different scenarios. But ultimately, what I would say is that right now, you arrived just in time for me to finish talking through the mess that we talked about earlier.
That's not way for me.
No. So I think I got it right.
You did.
So I did, excellent. I sounded very confident, thank you. So I walked them through what we talked about earlier, which is like, here are the different scenarios, what can happen from here.
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
we're good. But ultimately, both school committee has spoken and said, this is the budget that we need. And the town of Templeton has spoken and said, even if there is not an override in this town, this is the school budget that we want. We want to preserve these programs for our students. And so now Templeton has the opportunity to consider this question as well. And as you can tell, there's a variety of scenarios that happen, but ultimately a lot since Phillipston at this point. The school committee would not take another action on the budget unless or until we have the results from Phillipston. There are no further actions from school committee until we determine what Phillipston is doing. Okay. I will pause for any questions from the school committee. I'm sure you followed all of that. It was entirely clear. You need no flow charts whatsoever to understand that.
So I tested multiple choice.
Yeah.
You did understand.
Okay.
So it's yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So,
All the different scenarios.
okay. All right. So it is a lot for our community to understand. I will bravely be posting to Facebook again to let folks in Phillipston know that, this special town meeting is coming up. This ballot vote is coming up. It'll be factual information only. I don't encourage folks to vote one way or another. I say, we want you to show up and vote the way that you feel is right. Here's your opportunity. And it's a way to help folks know what's happening. Because right now, that information is only posted on the Phillipston town website. I've seen a couple of town groups post information on it.
It's in the newsletter.
It's in the newsletter too. Excellent. So, all right. We'll skip our business manager's report because our business manager is not here unless Dr. C, she gave you any assignments.
but she did not, because I just came off the road, so,
It's possible she used to do that. Okay. So next we will talk about, Dr. C's, formative evaluation. Lucky for all of you, we put together a handy guide last year as to what the superintendent evaluation is, what the formative assessment is, what the summative assessment is, and then for information, I'll give a little bit. So essentially, the goals for the district are set every 2 years, and the superintendent is evaluated every year. In the first year of those 2-year goals, we do what's called the formative assessment that takes a look at what happened within the first year. So how is he progressing against his goals? And then in the second year, we look at what's called the summative, which says, okay, you have now completed a goal cycle. How did you do against completing your goals? So around this time of year, Dr. C and Molly will pull together for each of these. So if you open up the document to look at, you will see that there. I think you have to you're not logged in if you can't see it. So remember to log in. So it will go through a student learning goal. You'll have information about what that goal is. And then you will have evidence that's been submitted against that goal to say, here's the activities that have been completed to date against these goals. So, what gets a little bit confusing for folks when they are new is that there's like references between the goals that were set and there's like basically a rubric for these superintendent evaluations. And so it'll reference things like 1A and 2C and et cetera. And so what we do is when the district sets goals, it maps them to that rubric. It says, this goal is aligned with this rubric. And here are the standards for this goal in this rubric. Okay. So then with these overall performance goals, each school committee member is responsible for reviewing the evidence submitted and then determining whether, considering that you're 1 year progress, so determining that progress towards goals, was it not met? Are you seeing some progress? Are you seeing significant progress? Is it met or is it exceeded? And you're rating that based on where he is in his cycle. So like if you're like, wow, you have done a ton of work, you very nearly met this goal, you have exceeded expectations for where we are in the evaluation cycle, you could give them an exceeded. Just because we have not yet met the goal does not mean you don't did not meet on every single one. So just making sure that that's clear, because if you have done one of these in corporate life, this process is quite a bit different. Not to mention that it's done publicly. We will literally be reading it out loud to Dr. C in our next meeting. So it's an interesting process to learn. So you go through and read each of those. I will be sending out a document for each one of you to fill in. It will be interactive. You'll have opportunities to include comments as well. So if that is something I definitely encourage you to do, especially if, so if you select, exceeded or met, not so much a concern for a ton of commentary there, although you certainly always want to state why you rated that. But if you were to say, I've only seen some progress, for example, you would want to include some commentary within the overall evaluation that helps Dr. C to understand why has he received that rating. There's like any good feedback cycle, you want to include not only what you've rated, but also why you've rated that. Yes, please.
Just create 2 new members. Everything that's hyperlinked here, you have access to, but you do have to be logged into your NRSD email address because they're internal documents, there's data, there's information that's confidential. So if you click on the link here and you can't see this, make sure you're logged into your district email.
Yes. Yeah. Things that are public, things that are not. You could have to be logged into your NRSD account. Thank you. So then then you go down and then there are different standards for performance. We've highlighted the ones, or I should say, Molly highlighted the ones that are connected to his goals. You know exactly which ones to rate. So anything that is not highlighted, don't touch it. Anything is highlighted, that's where you have to give a rating. And so you'll see there's the rubric of UNPE. And so UNIP and E, sorry. And I'm trying to remember what those mean, and I'm failing, and
Unsatisfactory
Thank you.
needs improvement coefficient, exemplary.
thank you. So once again, if you're unsatisfactory or needs improvement, you should absolutely include some direction on that. You know, proficient is, you know, like you're doing everything we think you should be doing. Exemplary, again, you should probably include something about why do you consider it to be exemplary? What from the evidence have you seen that says it's exemplary? Now, for our newest members, this is not an easy activity as you might imagine, because you've not had as much time and exposure. What I strongly encourage you to do is to read the evidence. We do, however, allow for our first year members to say, basically, go in and say, I do not have enough experience yet to rate. So that is allowed. We have allowed that every year since I've been chair and even before that. Because you haven't been sitting at this table, you haven't had as much exposure. Now, if you have something that you would still like the superintendent to know, like I know, in one person's first year, they talked a lot about, oh, this would be me. They wanted, the communication to be mobile accessible because they read there was a communication thing. And I wanted, as a parent, I often read that communication on my phone, and I said, hey, I would love if more of the communication coming out of school, I could read on a mobile phone, because at that time, I was turning and zooming in and out, and like, I couldn't interact with the information as well. And there are lots of families that don't have a desktop computer these days, so I had said, hey, here's something that I see as a new school committee member that I would love to have. And yet also remember that, you know, when you're filling this out, you aren't filling it out based on your personal experience with Dr. C, only you're filling it out representing the community. And so you want to make sure that if you do decide to give that sort of feedback, that it is indeed something that is going to be representative of something that helps the entire school community, not just your family specifically. And you think I don't need to say that, but I do. And so yeah, so I will be getting this out roughly. I will give you through next weekend to fill it out. But then I need a couple of days to pull it all into one document. And essentially what I do is I take everybody's ratings and then just take the average rating. So between the different pieces. And then I include everybody's comments in one document. And then that is the document that we review together at the next meeting, with that gets voted upon, and then that gets actually submitted to the state. So, how'd I do? Miss anything?
You've got it.
All right. Any questions about that process? Anything not clear? Okay. So moving right along, so I had, so during last, the May 21st meeting, it's like, wait, we had two last month, May 21st meeting. We did the reorganization of the committee, which is something we are obligated to do within 10 days of the elections every year. There are a few positions in that don't have to be done at that meeting. And so I wanted to bring them back up for reconsideration during this meeting, to give folks a little bit of time to review those. I emailed them out, but I know, I don't know who had their computer in time to actually use those. So I could suspend these next ones for our next meeting if that is easier. So did everyone actually receive that email, have a chance to look at it, that described the MASC delegate, the legislative representative, et cetera. So, because if you didn't receive it, I want to make sure you have time to look at it and review it. Okay, all right,
I received it, but I looked, did not.
okay. So I'm fine with pushing these to our next meeting. There's no rush to get these done at the end of the year. Because really they're setting us up for the FY 27. What I will do is I'll resend it if I'm not sure you were on. I sent it to the distribution list for school committee. I'm not sure you were on that at this time I sent it, so I'll make sure it ends up in your inbox. What I'm asking is that everybody review it. So essentially, in addition to this main school committee meeting, our school committee members have two other core responsibilities. One is to sign up as a liaison or a representative in at least one of these, other capacities is generally what the ask is, so that, not one person on the committee is taking on all the work. And then also there are subcommittee assignments. Subcommittee assignments will take care of over the course of the summer. The subcommittees are the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee. There is the District Operations. District Operations largely handles things like policy, insurance, transportation updates, like different things that central office has to deal with that this committee can help with or as a voice in. And then there is so it's a work environment. It's a combination of the work environment committee and the committee that meets with the NDA. So it's essentially a committee, and I can't remember the name of it right now.
Labor management.
Thank you, Labor Management Committee. I could have scrolled down. Yes.
It's like I scrolled down for you, Jim.
Thank you. Labor Management Committee. I mean, come on, my brain has remembered a lot of information so far tonight, so we're gonna give it a no.
We want to push it to the very limits.
So it's the finance facilities, it's the district operations, and it's the labor management committee. The labor management committee meets off cycle with folks when we're not, negotiating a contract to just cover little things that come up, like little annoyances that come up that can be resolved outside of contract. And then it also is responsible in a contract renewal year to represent the school committee in the contract renewal negotiation. So those assignments come up later. Most of those meet once a month. And then the liaisons or the representatives, for the liaisons to like CPAC and PTO, it's really just staying in touch with the head of CPAC and the head of PTO and just reporting back what's happening to the school committee. They can attend meetings if they want to. It is not a obligation. And then the legislative representative is just in charge of updating folks at the table to state and federal updates that happen. And the MASC delegate is probably, I'm gonna say the heaviest lift, but only during a very specific time of year, in the sense that they help the committee to review the legislative priorities set out by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. And then we as a committee vote on how we feel Narragansett should be represented in that, like, do we say, what priorities does Narragansett have that we're going to advocate for at MASC? And then they attend the meeting to then advocate for what Narragansett feels is important during that meeting. It is an excellent way to learn more about school committees and everything that is happening at a state level in terms of education and what MASC is advocating for. But being transparent, it is also during like October and November has a heavier lift, but it is only during October and November, and the rest of the year, no other responsibilities. And you would need to travel to the MASC conference. Like that's in November. I don't know if they
did, it's actually gonna be in Danvers this year.
absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah. It's at
There's a water content.
Yeah, it's a very.
That's mine. Like, no, and I think it's only 2 days in November this year.
Yes, 4th, 5th, and 6th is what it says here, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
I read something totally different.
So that's what you need to know. So we'll suspend those, so everybody can spend some time, have a minute to think about what you might like to do. Sean did volunteer to do PTO, but we can vote him in next time, he is present rather than, it's easier to go through all. So, okay. All right, school committee meeting calendar, I did connect with Susan on those. You were good with everything except for August, is that correct?
Yes, we wanted to see, we needed to approve, Molly, maybe you can speak to it, Molly, just talk.
Sure. So the challenge that puts us in if we don't have anything until August 20th is approving the family and student handbook for the next fiscal year. That doesn't give us enough time to honestly to update it and get the parent portal ready to go and the mandatory trainings for staff, because that's also part of mandatory trainings for staff. And so the handbook is currently in our attorney's hands. He's going to be reviewing it the first week in July and getting it back to us. He is rewriting a section to support the change in law that goes into effect in August on timeout and seclusion protocols for districts. So the law changes August, so the handbook will have that in place. So long story short, we would be looking to ideally have the school committee review and approve the handbook either the end of July or early August. That would give us enough time to update our portals and get the new handbook ready to go for family review and staff review. But August 20th is a really tight turnaround, and honestly, probably a realistic turnaround for our tech team to be able to do that, because we also have to create different language versions of that so that it's accessible to all families. That doesn't give us enough time to translate it as well.
I'm wondering, Susan, if, like, I don't wanna ask folks to like run through their vacation, like vacations is always the hardest thing to juggle to figure out which date. But maybe Susan, what we could do is send out, what are those? Doodle, yes, if we could send out a doodle, you and I can quickly look at
Okay.
like right after this meeting, we can look at what Thursdays, we put out to the committee. We'll vote on the Thursdays that work. I'm not too concerned about staying on schedule. Like, it doesn't, as long as we post in advance, we don't always have to stick to the first and third Thursday. That is what we try to do to be consistent for the community. But with juggling vacation schedules between central office folks and school committee members, I would want to be a little bit more flexible there. So we can send out that doodle, get the votes. We can figure out when our, I'm gonna say our summer meeting needs to be in order to get those pieces of work done. And we'll move it on down. How's that sound to everyone? Okay. Curriculum and instruction update. I know you said you didn't have it in your data yet, but any general updates you wanted to give this evening?
Sure. I can tell you that we've just closed this week our end of year benchmark assessment window. So our DIBELS data, our STAR data, and our BIMAS data. If you're sitting here thinking, what are all of those things? Two of them are academic screening assessment tools that we give 3 times a year to kind of take the temperature on students and say, you know, how are they doing in relation to performance and growth? And then the third tool, our BIMAS, is our social emotional screener to see if there are any students who are at risk and may need some additional social and emotional supports that we can provide in district. And so we just finished collecting that data. We'll be starting to analyze it in the next week or two. So hopefully at the next school committee meeting, we'll have that to present to you. But that's just wrapped up, just closed. And other than that, we are in the throes of the last final weeks of the school year. There's a lot of field trips going on. There's a lot of kind of wrapping up programs, finalizing our last few MCAS tests at the high school, which we may be just in the rearview mirror of now. We may have a few. We were just working on makeup, so I think we're pretty close, if not there. But gosh, to do that at the end of the school year is a lot. So our teachers have been doing a nice job, you know, really keeping a focus on collecting that data, though, making sure that all students have active scores and assessment data to utilize. So more to come next meeting, but no report at this time.
Yeah, I know my son celebrated being all done as on a test for the. Came
I
home
think our teachers did too.
as a moment of excitement.
Although I did have one email me yesterday asking me if they could log in again.
Oh, just for
Check
fun,
Zoom's score.
funsies?
Sure.
So we do have some surplus items this evening. So Susan, I'm gonna let you explain surplus items because
Yeah.
everyone has heard my voice for a very long time tonight.
So these are just items that every year at the end of the school year, our IT department goes through all their different items to see which ones are still up and running and usable for the next year. We have a company that we contract with that recycles all of it for us for no charge. And this is this year's list of things that are no longer usable for the district. It's quite a list.
There's quite a list. I promise not to read them all out in motion. So therefore, I would entertain a motion to accept the attached list of items from the IT department to be recycled.
So,
Motion by Hank, second by Heather. Any questions or comments about any of those items? Or process in general? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes, so that is unanimous. And so now we come to our spot where we remind folks that we are still down. Phillipston, a Phillipston school committee member. And so if you have friends in Phillipston or family in Phillipston or know of someone who'd be a great match in Phillipston, we thank our Phillipston member who has come in and stood up and joined us. But we are still down Phillipston members, and we do want to make sure our towns are fully represented. So there's 5 folks that represent Templeton, and then there's 3 folks that represent Phillipston when we are a full committee. It also helps make sure that we can get important votes done and through. You have to have a 2/3 standard, for example. So if you know of anyone, please let them know. I'd be more than happy to chat with somebody to let them know what does it look like to be a school committee member. And we've also sent out the guidebook on several occasions to give a sense of like what commitments. MASC annual conference, we did just talk about that. I have not, they do have a few of the featured speakers up here. I have not spent a ton of time looking to see if they have the agenda yet. But we can send out a note for those. So we do have to think about budget as we do it every year, but particularly in this upcoming year, because even with that increase, things will still be quite tight next year, just based on the increases, especially in fixed costs. That said, the conference is every new school committee member does have to complete a day of training. And the conference is one way to accomplish that. So if, for example, you wanted to sign up to be the delegate, you could also do your training at the conference as an example. You can have your full first year of being a school committee member to complete that training. Typically, otherwise, it's on a Saturday. Susan would work with you to sign you up for the right training. And some of them are pretty close. I think
It was actually, I was gonna try to course.
Oh, perfect. In Fitchburg, this Saturday.
Having tried to do it at the first conference I went to,
Was that tough for you?
I hated that.
Okay, noted.
I ended up going for funsies. I finished it there, but I went to an actual charting the course. I forget what school it was even at. I think it was in Worcester. That was much calmer.
Okay,
And it was
so
another,
noted.
yeah.
Your recommendation would be, thank you.
Take the charting the course as a separate course. On their website, if you go under events, there's a link for it, but, so it does say Fitchburg on Saturday, but, June 20th, so it's a hall though, but down in Sturbridge, so, you could make a day of it, go to Sturbridge Village too. But it's like 8 to 4, so, it is a good full day. But I would say that was a lot easier because you're running around the conference trying to keep track of even where you're going next and trying to get the signatures for the courses, and this was like a one and done. And it's nice even, if anybody needs what do you call it? road trip buddy. I would say it's not even bad for existing members to retake every once in a while.
What I'm not seeing that they've posted an agenda yet, so being transparent, I've been a few different years. I have been in years where it was an excellent conference. I learned a ton. I was able to network with other school committee members. We were able to hear what was happening in other school districts. It can be an excellent opportunity. The last year I went, which was in 2024, I would not have recommended that year to anyone. Heather was there with me. That year was not great. It was highly politically charged content, leaning in only one direction. And so it did not effectively represent all, the different schools of thought. And it felt more like folks were navigating a political quagmire. It was immediately after the election. It was the day after. And so it was even more charged for that reason. And so it was not a set of great content choices in consideration of the timing. And yet I would say the 2 years prior to that were amazing. It was an excellent conference. I learned so much. I met so many people. I got to spend time with my fellow school committee members. I would have, without doubt, recommended it prior to that. So we can put some consideration to what we can afford for this year, because it is a good opportunity. But maybe charge course elsewhere based on there's recommendation. Do we know, is there an early bird sign up? I was just trying to
So yes, it just be noted that they extended it, usually it's in July, but it says if you sign up on or before September 5th, you get the early bird of.
Okay, so we have some time this year
Yeah, so we have
all right, so we can figure that, we can look with Anne Marie and see what we can do. All right. And then Dr. C, it's your turn to speak. I get to take a break. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I apologize for being tardy, but couldn't be helped, and there was traffic on the tube. So we've actually had we've had a very busy couple of weeks, but with graduation and all of that, graduation was a fantastic event. It did not rain. It was sprinkled a few times. It got us nervous a couple times, but we made it. And so that was fantastic. With the awards ceremony, the senior banquet, which is always fun, athletic awards. And, every year, that was my 10th graduation here. And I just don't know how we pull it off because it is such a task. But the class advisors, Jamie Scherer and Jess McLaughlin, did a fantastic job. They were the senior class advisors and just trying to, herd cats. That's what really that is in that last few weeks, and they did a fantastic job doing that. The junior class advisors who set up the all of the decorations, make everything happen. Ann Lyons and Gloria Reed, again, wrangling the juniors now to make the place beautiful, and with chairs. It's just really neat to watch it. They really do have it down to a science. And it was a fantastic event. If you've never been, or you haven't been in a while, it is a party. It is not a formal affair at all. It's cowbells and there's air horns and there's volleyballs, there's confetti.
All the stands are dancing.
It's a celebration. It really, really is. And it has been every year that I've been here. So it's really kind of neat. It brings a lot and when we have it outside, there were over 1,300 people easily because the stands hold 1,000. That was completely full. And on the sides, there were folks in lawn chairs and, just to come out and watch the graduates. So it's fantastic. So TES has been busy. It's the field trip, time of year. I think it was today, actually. They went to the Ecotarium, Davis Farmland. Everybody made it back. It was goat bites or anything to that effect in Farmland. Our warrior, I'm sorry. Is
Gotta
it-
watch out
oh,
for chicken attacks.
Chickens, we've had a couple close calls, but yes, we made it all back. I didn't, so our warrior robotics team, we're very good. So we are, no, I'm just telling you, this is the second time.
You are, I've seen it.
We are very good. And I will tell you that they went down to they're the tournament champions again. They went down to Oakmont tournament, and it literally was in the very end for the championship. It ended up being both Narragansett teams facing off for five different schools. So we've won the championship a couple times, and we do brag about it quite a bit. It is bragging rights, certainly with superintendents, and I take great joy calling my good friend Tom, state of West, and of course Gardner, to let them know that we've won again. Track and field, that is another really big to do about the fact that the boys won the league championship for the first time in 13 years. All without a functional track. I have to say, yes, the track should exist, it's down there, but it's such poor repair that you really can't use it for competition. But it was the first time in 13 years, so that was really a fantastic job. We had some of the boys go on to I believe it's regionals, well past state. So we've got a lot of, and by the way, they weren't seniors, some of our juniors and sophomores. MIA Women's Day in Sports, both Mia and Gianna Manco, seniors, both represented NRSD well. TEF did something very interesting and new. They decided to name the Teacher of the Year. Now, sometimes that can go awry, and especially in a very small district. Ms. Rasmussen wouldn't hear no anyway, because so many people came to let her know that Jessica Smith is just first grade teacher. She is phenomenal. She does it all. And the write-up, it's been all from Facebook, but people came to Marcy to just say, we have to do something. She really has been, she's been at every budget select board meeting for 3 and 4 hours.
She even asked me today, did I miss one? I was like, did I miss one?
She was worried about actually, missing one. So, but that is a really neat thing. And really, it was most of her colleagues who wanted to make sure that she be recognized. So I thought that was fantastic.
And being the humble human that she is.
Oh, she didn't want to do it.
When I, yes.
No,
When I contacted to say, she's like, I'm just doing the bare minimum of my job. And I was like, oh, okay. So she is a fantastic human being.
Unbelievable.
And, yeah.
Let's see, we had the Commissioner of Education here on the Friday, which meant that we had the high school, middle school Memorial Day program on that Friday, which was fantastic. But on Tuesday, the following week, we had the Memorial Day program for TES, and it was phenomenal. 2 interns had to run the program. One was a teacher at the elementary school, because one of the things that she had to take care of. And I have to say that, when you do your student teaching, it's a nerve-wracking circuit when you do student teaching, especially when you're teaching children for the first time in your life. But when you're up in front of about 1,200 parents, trying to get the elementary school to sing, and of course the audio didn't work, everything that happened could have happened, and they did a fantastic job. So I want to make sure that I do a shout out to them. They did a fantastic job, and people loved it. Tomorrow night is the 7th and 8th grade semi-formal. Big going ons there. And on June 16th, the 7th grade bridge ceremony, which is the step up from the middle school to the high school. So a lot going on. It's a very busy time. Last 3 academic weeks. And every day is packed. It's got something. So we're coming in hot, right up to the very. Oh, do you have the, do you have the visual? You didn't have this, Madam Chair, and I thought I was gonna be here earlier. We created a visual for the budget.
Oh,
Yes, and so I apologize because
Yeah.
we really,
I'm here for it.
yeah,
Please, I mean,
so,
a budget is my favorite topic of all time.
right, we're gonna clean up a little bit, but,
Because I can get it.
right, we've got some things, taking a PNG and making a whatever, so. But it ultimately, and we're gonna, this will go with a letter, kind of explaining to folks, we've received so many phone calls about what is next and what is this and what is that. But it really just, it diagrams or outlines exactly what has taken place and where do we go from here. I don't know if everyone can see it, but if the budget, you know, it kind of goes through the steps, the next steps, and what happens if the budget fails, what happens there, if the budget passes, you know, what happens there. So, this will go out to the,
I did it.
you did a fantastic job. But this will go out to the, you know, we'll post it, of course, to our Facebook page, of course. But this, I think we're gonna send this with a letter, because it's just, so there's a lot of information, and some of it has changed as of today. So, after speaking with the department head, so,
We are, I wanna, we're actively learning new things.
Yeah.
Like the more complicated your budget situation, the more new things you learn
Yeah.
about how the process works as various scenarios come together. So like, you know, if you ever find a point where we said something in meeting A and then you get to meeting B and you go, wait a minute, it was this time, it's like, okay, that's because between meeting A and meeting B, we have reached out to Desi, you know, and it's just, this is an exceptionally complicated budget year, and so please bear with us because we are actively engaging with all kinds of folks across the state to make sure that we're getting the right information out, and sometimes it takes a minute.
and actually what's happening, or with the questions we've asked, are actually precedent set. And though that's not,
Yeah.
those are not my words, that's from the Department of Ed, because some of these things that we needed to consider has never been considered before, so we've done this a few times since the beginning, so, we do love hearing from us, that's what they say. But they really had to ponder a few things about this situation, because none of it has ever been broached, so. Yes,
Carving new paths for the state of Massachusetts.
Right. yes, yet again, so, in any event, this will go out, I think this will help people, I hope, it's just very simplistic, it's, again, as less complicated as we can possibly make it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I always appreciate a good visual. Nice flow chart. I was actually saying earlier that I could use a flow chart.
I like that, the probably just pulls it out.
Yeah.
I didn't know what this was, I was like, hey, but I was, I don't know if this was.
I say this is on compressors. This is calling in from Route 2. Susan,
Came across, I did not.
do you think you could?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did talk about the student, this is the time of year that we usually look at the student family handbook when it is a typical year. However, when we are accommodating new laws, it requires additional layers of review by legal, which is the year we are now. So we'll look at those additional things. Okay. So I would open it up for any school committee comments. Now, this is just a time when if there's something, like, sometimes folks use this to ask for future agenda items, sometimes they use it to share how wonderful an event was that they attended, sometimes they use it to celebrate something happening in the district. There's no pressure. If nobody else has a comment, I have a comment, but I always wait till last.
Graduation was cool, so.
Graduation was cool. Graduation was excellent. It is my all-time favorite event of the year. It is the one that is entire. I do love what I do. Like this, sitting at this table can be hard, but I do love what I do. The event, however, that is joy from start to finish is graduation. And it is like my my cumulative reward for making it through the year to be there and to witness the joy of the students and the families. It is something very special. Indeed.
So you're some of the most dynamic student speakers I've ever heard.
It was, yes. And I got the most hugs of
Yes.
all the years.
Oh,
I got a lot of
I just,
Sometimes I didn't know they were coming because I got a student, but I was here for the hugs. So a couple comments for me. One being to welcome our new members. Thank you so much for your time, for your dedication. Please, I will make sure you both have my personal phone numbers before you leave tonight. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. As things come up, just reach out. I know that they will. I've had a number of, Sean likes to text me and say, I'm looking for 5 minutes. And I will say, you can have it at this time. He'll say, excellent. He'll call me and ask his question. Because this is confusing. I will say it takes, a full first term is 3 years. It probably took me that to get enough information to feel like I really understood what was going on. So if you're feeling totally lost right now, you're in the right phase of school committee membership. The second thing I wanted to say is I believe that this is our last school committee meeting with Ms. Molly Suchi. Because she is leaving the district at the end of the month for a new position. The assistant superintendent position was also one of the positions that was eliminated, which brings with it a lot of we are incredibly sad to lose Molly because of everything she has brought to this district. I cannot emphasize enough the work that we have witnessed that she has done. She has brought more data to the table for us to look at in terms of student progress and student outcomes. She has educated us on how to understand MCAS scores, which is no small feat, let me tell you, and how to understand what they mean to the district, and what we do as a result. She's helped us to really understand different policies that are impacting our schools and how to apply them. She has advocated for our school in order to get grants. And I know that she's our Title IX person, which comes with no small number of delights. I have had, it has been such a pleasure to work with Molly as the chair of the school committee. She has always picked up the phone and answered my questions, or been seated around a table with me at negotiations or some other space. And she has brought so much to this district, and she will be deeply, deeply missed. And so I wanted to make sure I took a moment to say how much we value you and how much we will miss having you seated here with us. And congratulations on your next position. I'd love to say that you're moving onward to bigger and better things. And it may be a bigger district, but we're not going to say better yet. Is that smaller? Slightly smaller. All right. Well, congratulations, but also.
Thank you. And I would just like to say, I have not worked with more supportive school committee. The committee members here are always focused on student learning outcomes and supporting teachers. And it's admirable what you do. And you don't get paid for the work that you're doing to support teachers and the students. And so, it's been a pleasure working with the committee and working with the district. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Worked with quite a few assistant superintendents.
Maybe a couple.
There's none better than Molly in maybe 50+ years.
you deserve that.
I can't beat that one either. All right, on that, I don't believe any subcommittees have met. I mean, this is the time of year when it kind of dials back, dials down, so that's normal. We are still in UFCW negotiations. We have another one booked for Tuesday, but other than that, I can't really talk further about that because all of that happens under executive session. For school committee members, not for the not for the USCW members, but for school committee members. So hoping we'll get that wrapped up shortly, and then we will have a contract to vote on. And, forget what the title is, but James from
Almost.
and will join us.
Community member. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So we can talk more about that when we get there. We've had no correspondence. We do have our next meeting on Thursday, June 18th at 5:30 p.m. And I am gonna recommend that we have executive session so we can get our new school committee members up to date on the situation. I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session as per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation with the town of Templeton. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The meeting will not return into open session immediately following.
So,
Motion by Hank, second by Heather, and then we do let's call a roll call vote, which means on each of you one at a time to vote. Starting down with Hank,
aye.
and then and I say yes, so that is unanimous. So we will adjourn out of executive session.